Hello and welcome to Capitol Review. I'm Mark Hall. The last day of early voting in Virginia is Saturday, and a record number of ballots have been cast ahead of Election Day on Tuesday. More than 1 million people have voted early, and that's just a few thousand shy of the total number of ballots in last year's election in 2021. A new poll shows that Democrat Abigail Spanberger's lead in the governor's race is continuing to grow. The survey from Roanoke College has her ahead by double digits over Republican Winsome Earle-Sears. In the Attorney General race, there's been a flip in the Republican incumbent Jason Miyares growing his lead. He now has 8 points ahead of Democrat Jay Jones, who's been saddled by the violent text message scandal. And Virginia Commonwealth University's survey last week had Miyares 3 points ahead. Returning to Capitol Review is Dr. Stephen Farnsworth, a political science professor at the University of Mary Washington. Professor, welcome back to Capitol Review.
Glad to be here.
We're always glad to have you. We've had early voting in Virginia, Election Day right around the corner. Are they engaged?
All indications are that they are indeed engaged. You're looking at relatively high turnout in the early voting compared to previous election cycles. That's, of course, only one measure of what's going on. You also see a lot of candidates out there with big crowds really energizing their base partisans. It's an election with a lot of issues on the table, and the voters do seem to be very focused on this upcoming contest.
Let's talk about the race for governor. Recent polling has Democrat Abigail Spanberger with a 10-point lead over Republican and incumbent Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earle-Sears. Do you expect that to hold?
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if it ends up being a little closer on Election Day. The reality of politics is that people who are sometimes hesitant voters to support one party or the other, in the end, go home. I think that the Earle-Sears campaign has not been a strong campaign. They've had to redesign their campaign team in the course of the summer. There was also significant difficulties in terms of the way that she handled herself in the debate and the ability to raise money. So there were a lot of things that didn't work out so well for the lieutenant governor in terms of the structure of that campaign. But now, with the election close, Republicans who were hesitant to vote for her might be inclined to do so when they consider the possibility of more Democratic control in Virginia.
That race for lieutenant governor is close. Some would say within the margin of the error. Republican John Reed trailing Democrat Ghazala Hashmi by less than 2 points. Do you consider that race a toss-up?
Well, I do think that the polls show this one a very close race. The reality of Virginia politics is that the governor's race usually gets all the attention, and there's very little focus on what the lieutenant governor would do if they're elected. You see the lieutenant governor has an important role to play. They preside over the Senate, and they break ties. And with the 2019 Senate that we have right now in Virginia, that's not changing. The Senate doesn't have its elections until 2 years from now. But the reality is that there are going to be days when the chamber is tied because somebody's sick, somebody's absent from that vote. And the lieutenant governor can be a key part of shaping the future of Virginia.
The race for Attorney General in Virginia, how often is it such a high-profile race? We have incumbent Jason Miyares right now with an 8-point lead over his Democratic challenger, Jay Jones. Assuming the numbers are accurate, can Jones capitalize on President Trump's low approval rating, or is it the scandal is going to be too much to overcome?
Well, that's the big question going into Election Day. Will people who would vote Democratic normally put this scandal behind them and vote for Jay Jones? There's no doubt about it. The Democratic Party really has not defended him because what he said was largely indefensible. And so you have had a candidate who's really torpedoed his own campaign with those text messages. But the reality is that when he is out there talking to voters, he moves pretty quickly from an apology to a focus on the Trump presidency. The Trump presidency is a difficult environment for Republicans to deal with right now, because not only do we talk about the federal job cuts that have taken place over the last several months, but also the federal shutdown right now. And all these things do a lot more than just affect federal workers and federal contractors. They also affect all kinds of retail establishments that are seeing their businesses suffer with reduced attention, reduced sales, because everyone who is looking at the current economic environment is a little bit wary about the future, a little hesitant to spend.
All right, Professor Farnsworth, thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you.